Today was my 33rd birthday, and the first thing I did when I woke up, almost by instinct, was check my phone. Unsurprisingly, there was nothing from my father, Richard. Not a single text message, not even a missed call. Instead, there was a forwarded email from him, a stark reminder that the final payment for my sister Megan's extravagant engagement party was due. He was dropping $30,000 on the venue alone. This lack of surprise was a bitter pill I'd been swallowing for 33 years. I was the forgotten daughter of the Hayes family. But today, something deep inside me finally fractured. I was done waiting for him to notice me. I didn't shed a tear. I didn't call my mother Eleanor to complain. Instead, I got in my car and drove 2 hours north to a small, secluded cottage on Pinecrest Lake I'd been eyeing for months. I met the real estate agent, signed the closing documents, and handed her a bank draft. It represented every last penny I had meticulously saved from years of working late. As I stood alone on my own private dock, gazing at the glassy surface of the water, it felt like the first real breath I'd taken in years. I snapped a quick photo of the house keys resting in my palm and uploaded it with a simple caption: birthday gift, self-gift. Then I turned my phone off. I knew exactly the kind of storm that would be waiting for me when I turned it back on. Before we get into all that, do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment telling me what part of the world you're watching from. You don't just decide to sever ties with your family on a whim. It's a slow erosion, like a constant drip of water on a rock that eventually causes it to crack. For me, the first hairline fractures appeared when I was just a little girl. To really get why I bought that cottage, you need to understand my place in the Hayes household. I was the other one. I was the rough draft before the polished final edition, and that final edition was my sister, Megan. My father, Richard Hayes, was a man who thrived on being the center of attention. He didn't just enter a room, he made an entrance. He was loud, charming, and possessed a brand of good looks that commanded you to watch him. He had a deep affection for expensive objects, for telling grand stories, and above all, for anything that served as a mirror to his own magnificence. I, however, did not reflect his magnificence. I was quiet and bookish. My hair was a perpetual mess, my knees were always scraped, and my favorite place was a quiet corner with a good book. I was not, as he once condescendingly called Megan's friends, a show pony. Megan was the opposite. Though she was 2 years younger, she seemed to take up all the air in any room she entered. She was blonde, effervescent, and had perfected the art of laughing at our father's jokes, even the ones she clearly didn't get. She was his perfect reflection. When he looked at her, he saw a beautiful, sparkling creation of his own making. When he looked at me, all he seemed to see was a duty, a bill to be paid, another mouth to feed, but certainly not a story he was eager to share with his buddies at the country club. The process of my erasure began with birthdays. My 10th birthday is etched in my memory. For a kid, hitting double digits feels monumental. I had asked for a simple party, just a few friends from school and some pizza. My mother, Eleanor, had agreed. She had a habit of giving these vague, distracted yeses to things, as long as they didn't risk my father's disapproval, of course. The afternoon of my birthday, my father arrived home from work early. My heart leaped with a foolish hope. I thought, he remembered, he's here for my birthday. He strode through the door, loosening his tie, his face glowing with excitement. He didn't even glance at me. His gaze went straight over my head to my mother. "Pack a bag, Eleanor," his voice boomed, "and get Megan ready." I snagged tickets to that big new musical downtown, front and center. A client had to cancel. We need to go in 30 minutes. I just stood there in the hallway, holding a sad, half-inflated balloon. My mother looked from him to me, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes, but it was as weak as a match in a downpour. "Richard," she said softly, "it's Rebecca's birthday. We were just going to have pizza with the neighbors' girls." My father finally stopped and looked down at me. He wasn't apologetic. He was irritated, as if I were an unexpected traffic jam. "It's just pizza, Rebecca," he said, forcing a smile that never reached his eyes. "We can have pizza whenever. These are front row seats. Do you have any idea what I had to do to get these? Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish." That was the refrain of my childhood. If I wanted a piece of my father's attention, I was being selfish. If I wanted him to attend my school play instead of Megan's soccer game, I was jealous. If I cried because he promised to pick me up from ballet and forgot, I was being dramatic. That evening, they left. They took Megan, who was squealing with delight. They left me with the babysitter, Mrs. Peterson, who felt so sorry for me she let me eat a whole pint of ice cream for dinner. When they returned late that night, Megan was asleep in my father's arms. He carried her upstairs as if she were a priceless artifact. He walked right past my open bedroom door without a single glance inside. I learned my lesson right then. Nobody had to spell it out. I just understood. In the economy of the Hayes family, Megan was solid gold, and I was just copper. As we got older, that chasm between us widened. It began to manifest in money, but the money was just a proxy for affection. My father expressed his love in dollar signs. He wasn't the type for hugs or heart-to-heart talks. He showed he cared by spending. When Megan turned 16, she had a party in a hotel ballroom with a live band and a towering chocolate fountain. The next morning, a brand new convertible sat in the driveway, adorned with a giant red bow. My father spent the entire night with a microphone, delivering one toast after another to his beautiful princess. When I had turned 16 2 years earlier, we went to a steakhouse. It was a nice place, I can't say it wasn't. But my father spent the whole meal glued to his phone, furiously typing emails to a business associate. When the check arrived, he passed his credit card to the waiter without even looking up. "Happy birthday, kid," he mumbled, his thumbs still moving. "Skip dessert. I have an early flight tomorrow. No car, no party, just a steak I was too knotted with disappointment to eat." I remember trying to talk to my mother about it once, during a rare, quiet moment in the kitchen. She was dicing vegetables, her hands in a constant nervous motion. My mother had made herself small to fit into my father's world. She lived in fear of upsetting him. "Why is it so different with Megan?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice even. "Why does Dad do all of that for her and nothing for me?" My mother's knife stilled. She stared out the window where my father was in the backyard, showing Megan the proper way to swing a golf club. "Your sister," she said. "She just needs more, Rebecca." We both knew it was a flimsy excuse. "You're so self-sufficient. You're so strong. You don't need all that fuss. Your father knows you can handle things. He worries about Megan." It was a masterclass in emotional manipulation. She framed my neglect as a virtue. I was ignored because I was strong. I was forgotten because I was capable. So I leaned into it. I became capable. If I couldn't be the treasured daughter, I would be the flawless one. I earned straight A's. I captained the debate team. I kept my room immaculate. I never asked for a dime. I was never a minute late for curfew. I had this foolish idea that if I could just be perfect enough, if I created absolutely no friction, my father would one day look at me and say, "Well done, Rebecca. I see you." But to a man like Richard Hayes, perfection is dull. Perfection doesn't need to be rescued, and if it doesn't need rescuing, he can't be the hero. He adored Megan's messes. When she failed her chemistry class, he hired the most expensive tutor in the city and made a grand spectacle of getting her back on track. When she dented her new car, he swooped in to deal with the insurance and bought her an even better, safer model. Her mistakes were just platforms for him to display his power. My achievements were invisible because they required nothing from him. I'll never forget my high school graduation. I was the valedictorian. I had the highest GPA in my entire class. I was giving the commencement speech. I'd rehearsed it for weeks, wanting every word to land perfectly, wanting my father to see me up there, to hear the applause. They were late. I was already on the stage, halfway through my speech, when I saw them trailing in at the back of the auditorium. My father was on his phone. Megan was whispering and giggling beside him. They found seats but fidgeted the whole time. After the ceremony, I found them in the parking lot. I was clutching my diploma, the heavy leather folder feeling like a shield. "Did you hear my speech?" I asked. "Caught the tail end of it," my father said, glancing at his watch. "Good job. Listen, we've got to run. Megan has a final fitting for her prom dress, and we promised to take her and her friends out for lunch. You can tag along if you want, but it'll just be a bunch of screaming teenagers." He never said congratulations. He didn't ask to see the diploma. He just assumed I would want to trail behind them to celebrate Megan's prom on the day of my own graduation. "I'm going to go with my friends," I said. "Suit yourself," he replied, already unlocking the car. "See you later." I stood there and watched them drive off. That was the moment the identity of the invisible daughter became permanently fused to my soul. I wasn't just unseen, I was an inconvenience. I was there to round out the family portraits, the drab background that made Megan's colors pop. I understood then that I was utterly on my own. I had a father, a mother, and a sister, but I was an orphan in my own home. I stopped trying to earn his approval that day. I stopped trying to shout to be heard over the noise he and Megan made. Instead, I became quiet. And in that quiet, I started to make a plan. When I left for university, I thought things might change. I hoped distance might make the heart grow fonder, or at least make the neglect less acute. But distance only sharpened the reality. It made it painfully clear that I was the only one putting any effort into our relationship. I attended a state school a few hours away. I'd secured enough scholarships that I didn't need to ask my father for a cent toward tuition. He absolutely loved that. He would boast to his friends about how frugal and sensible I was. "Rebecca's got a great head on her shoulders," he'd declare at family dinners, giving me a hard clap on the back. "Doesn't cost me a thing." He said it as if I were a reliable, low-maintenance appliance. Meanwhile, Megan decided college wasn't for her. She wanted to find her passion. My father bankrolled a swanky apartment for her in the city. He paid for her photography classes, her modeling headshots, her trips to Italy to get inspired. I was juggling a full-course load and 2 part-time jobs. I worked at the campus library during the week and waited tables on weekends. I learned the true value of $1 because I had to earn every single one of them. I remember calling home one Sunday during my senior year feeling utterly drained. I'd just worked a double shift and my feet were aching. "Hey, Dad," I said when he finally answered. "Rebecca, can you make it fast?" He said, "No hello. I'm helping Megan move into her new loft. You should see this place. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the whole city. It's incredible. I'm thinking of buying the unit next to it as an investment." "That's great," I said, glancing around my tiny dorm room. "I just wanted to let you know I made the dean's list again." "That's wonderful, honey," he said, his voice clearly distracted. I could hear him yelling at movers in the background. "Be careful with that painting. It's an original." He came back to the phone. "Listen, I have to go. Megan is having a meltdown about where to put the couch. We'll catch up later. The line went dead. I stared at the phone. We'll catch up later. We never did. After graduation, I landed a job in supply chain management. It wasn't a glamorous field. I managed logistics for a large manufacturing firm. My days were filled with spreadsheets, shipping schedules, and deadlines. It was quiet, meticulous work. My father couldn't wrap his head around it, so he simply ignored it. Rebecca shuffles papers, he'd tell people dismissively. Megan, on the other hand, had found a job in public relations. And by found a job, I mean my father called in a favor with a friend who owned a PR agency. She planned parties and attended galas. She posted photos of herself on social media, sipping champagne on a Tuesday afternoon. My father spoke of her job as if she were the CEO of a major corporation. "Megan is just crushing it," he'd announce at dinner, as I sat there silently. "She put together that fundraiser last week. You see the pictures? The mayor was there. She's a born networker, a real chip off the old block. He never once asked about my work. He never asked if I was fulfilled. He never asked if I was lonely. But I was quietly doing something he had no idea about. Because I lived a simple life, with no pricey lofts or designer sofas, I had money left over at the end of each month. And because I had learned young that I could only depend on myself, I saved it. I became almost obsessed with financial independence. For me, money wasn't for showing off. It was for security. It was the key to being able to walk away. I opened a high-yield savings account that no one knew existed. I nicknamed it my escape fund. With every paycheck, 30% went directly into that account. I never went on lavish vacations. I drove a 10-year-old car. I shopped at thrift stores and cooked all my own meals. To my family, I must have seemed dreadfully dull. "You need to live a little, Rebecca," Megan would say, eyeing my simple clothes with a mixture of pity and disdain, all while wearing a dress my father had bought for her. "Dad says you act like a little old lady." "I'm happy," I'd reply. And it was true, because every time I logged into my bank account, that number was bigger. That number was my secret. It was my armor. The older we got, the more entrenched these roles became. I was the responsible, serviceable daughter. Megan was the star. On holidays, I was expected to show up early to help my mother in the kitchen. I chopped the vegetables, I set the table, I did the grunt work. Megan would breeze in 20 minutes before dinner was served, looking perfect, carrying a bottle of expensive wine she hadn't paid for. My father would rush to greet her. There she is, the life of the party. He'd pour her a glass, seat her at the head of the table, and I'd be in the kitchen, quietly washing the prep dishes. One Thanksgiving, about 3 years ago, my erasure felt complete. We were all gathered at the table, including my Aunt Carol and Cousin Olivia. My father, in high spirits, stood to make a toast. "I just want to say how incredibly proud I am of this family," he began, looking at my mother. Then his gaze settled on Megan, his face beaming. "Megan, you've had a phenomenal year. That promotion? You earned it. You're making the Hayes name known in this city." He raised his glass. Everyone applauded. I applauded too. Then he looked at me. For a split second, I thought, this is it. He's going to mention my recent promotion to senior manager. I'd told him just last week. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "And Rebecca, thank you for the sweet potato casserole. It's delicious." That was all. My career, my accomplishments, my entire existence, all of it boiled down to a side dish. Across the table, my cousin Olivia gave me a small, sympathetic look. She saw it, but no one ever said a word. We all just kept playing our designated roles in the Richard Hayes show. That night, I went back to my small apartment. I didn't cry. I was long past tears. I logged into my online banking. The balance in my escape fund was nearing 6 figures. Keep going, I whispered to myself, just a little longer. The final straw started forming about 6 months before my 33rd birthday. My father began talking non-stop about Megan's engagement. She wasn't even engaged yet. Her boyfriend hadn't proposed, but my father was already scouting venues. "It's going to be the social event of the year," he declared. "I'm thinking the botanical gardens, or maybe the yacht club." "Dad, that sounds incredibly expensive," I cautioned. "It's an investment, Rebecca," he snapped. "You have to spend money to build a network. This is good for the family name, for business." He looked at me with open contempt. "You wouldn't get it. You pinch pennies so hard they scream." I didn't tell him that my penny pinching meant I had enough for a down payment on a house. I didn't tell him I'd been secretly browsing listings for a cottage by a lake, a place where the cell signal was weak and the air was clean. I just kept quiet. I let him dream and boast. But I made a quiet vow to myself. My 33rd birthday was on the horizon. I knew with a chilling certainty that he would forget it. He was completely consumed by Megan's hypothetical wedding. I decided that if he forgot, if the entire day passed without a single word from him, I would buy the cottage. I wouldn't ask for his opinion. I wouldn't seek his advice. I would simply do it. The week before my birthday, I drove up to see the lake house. It was perfect. A small, cozy cottage with a wraparound porch and a dock that stretched out into the glassy water. It smelled of pine and silence. The agent, a kind woman named Mrs. Gable, showed me around. "It's very secluded," she noted. "Is that what you're looking for?" "Yes," I said. "It's exactly what I'm looking for." I told her I would be in touch. I waited. I gave my father every opportunity. I watched the clock tick past midnight on the eve of my birthday. Not a word. I woke up the next morning. Still nothing. I went to my office. Texts from friends and colleagues rolled in. I even got an automated happy birthday email from my car dealership. But from my family, a profound silence. Around midday, my phone buzzed. It was an email from my father. My heart did a stupid, hopeful little flutter. I opened it. Subject, FWD, venue invoice, Megan's party. The body of the email was simple. "Rebecca, print this out and bring it with you on Sunday. I need to go over these charges with you. Some of these fees seem outrageous, not happy birthday. Just a command to perform an administrative task for my sister's party." I stared at the screen, and the sounds of the office around me, the hum of the computers, the distant chatter, faded into nothing. A strange sense of calm settled over me. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. I picked up my phone and called Mrs. Gable. "I'll take it," I said. "I can wire the funds this afternoon." I didn't bother replying to my father's email. I finished my workday, went to the bank, and signed the final papers. That evening, I drove up to the lake. I sat on the dock of the house that I, Rebecca Hayes, now owned. My name on the deed. Not Richard Hayes' daughter, just Rebecca Hayes. I took the picture, I posted it, birthday gift, self-gift. I set the phone down on the weathered wooden planks. The sun was setting, painting the water in hues of orange and gold. I took a long, deep breath, filling my lungs with air that felt sharper, cleaner, and then my phone began to buzz. First once, then twice, then a continuous, furious vibration that rattled against the wood. The fallout had begun, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of the noise. I was just ready to watch the explosion. The phone was vibrating so intensely it started to shimmy across the wooden planks of the dock, inching closer to the edge. I watched it for a moment, contemplating just letting it drop into the water. One small splash, and then blissful silence. But I didn't. I reached out and picked it up. I had posted the photo of the keys less than 5 minutes ago. In that short time, my family had transitioned from complete silence to utter chaos. I unlocked the screen, notifications flooding in. The group chat, titled Hayes Family News, usually reserved for my father's golf scores or Megan's links to designer dresses, was blinking frantically. I opened it. Megan, 7:02 p.m. What is this? Megan, 7:03 p.m. Rebecca, are you renting a place for the weekend? Megan, 7:03 p.m. Hello? Mom, 7:05 p.m. Rebecca, honey, where are you? Your father is asking. Dad, 7:06 p.m. Answer your phone now. Megan, 7:08 p.m. Are you serious? You bought a house today? Megan, 7:09 p.m. We have the venue meeting tomorrow morning. You were supposed to drive me. I stared at the messages, a cold knot forming in my stomach. Not a single happy birthday, not one. I scrolled up to check the date on my phone just to make sure I hadn't lost my mind. No, it was definitely my birthday. They were looking at a photo of me holding a set of keys, explicitly captioned birthday gift, and their only response was confusion and fury. My father started calling again. His contact picture, a photo of him looking powerful in a tailored suit, filled the screen. I declined the call. The knot in my stomach wasn't guilt. It was the chilling final confirmation that I had been right all along. They didn't care about me. They cared about my utility. I was the driver, the assistant, the person who handled the details. I was a background character, and background characters aren't supposed to have their own plot lines. I walked up the path from the dock to the house. The evening air was getting crisp. The house was completely empty. I hadn't bought any furniture yet. All I had was a sleeping bag, a cooler with a sandwich and a cheap bottle of wine and a camping lantern. I went inside and locked the door behind me. The deadbolt made a solid, satisfying thud. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I sat down on the floor of what would be my living room. I leaned against the wall and watched my phone light up again. Dad, this is incredibly selfish. Everyone is worried sick. Call me this instant. My fingers were steady as I typed back. Me. I'm safe. I'm in my new house. I will talk to you tomorrow. I switched my phone to Do Not Disturb. That night was the first night of my new life. It felt strange and a little lonely, but it was a good kind of lonely. It was the kind of lonely that felt like open space. I drank my wine from a plastic cup and ate my turkey sandwich, listening to the sound of crickets outside. I thought about the money. The down payment had taken a massive chunk of my savings, but I still had a comfortable cushion. I had run the numbers 100 times. I could afford the mortgage on my salary. I didn't need them. And that was the part that terrified them. I didn't need them anymore. I slept on the floor in my sleeping bag and woke up with an aching back. But when I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was sunlight filtering through trees that were mine. I watched dust motes dance in a sunbeam in a room that was mine. I checked my phone. 47 missed calls, a dozen voicemails. Most were from my father, 2 from Megan, and 1 from my mother. I decided to listen to my mother's first. Her voice was thin, anxious. Rebecca, please just call us. Your father is, well, he's very upset. He thinks you're having some kind of breakdown. Just tell us it's a rental for the weekend, okay? Just tell him that. Call me. She wanted me to lie. She wanted me to smooth it over, to say, oh, silly me, just a little weekend getaway, so that my father's worldview could remain intact. In his world, I couldn't afford a house. I didn't make bold moves. I deleted the voicemail. Next, I listened to one from Megan. Rebecca, this is just so typical. You know how stressed I am about this engagement party, and now you pull this? Mom and Dad are fighting because of you. Dad is in a foul mood, and he's threatening to cancel the venue meeting. Thanks a lot. You always have to make everything about you. I let out a short, dry laugh. I had to make everything about me. I had spent 3 decades shrinking myself so she could occupy the entire stage. And the one time I stepped out of the wings, I was accused of hogging the spotlight. I didn't listen to my father's voicemails. I already knew what they would say. I knew I had to talk to him eventually, but I needed coffee first. I drove into the nearby small town, got a black coffee and a pastry, and sat on a bench overlooking the public marina, watching the boats bob in the gentle waves. My phone rang again. It was him. I took a deep breath, took a sip of coffee, and felt the caffeine fortify me. I slid the bar to answer. "Hello, Dad," I said. My voice was calm, steady. "Where in the hell are you? No hello, no how are you?" Just a barked command. "I'm at my house," I said, "up at Pinecrest Lake." "Your house." He spat the words out like they were poison. "Stop saying that. It's a rental. Your mother told me you rented a place. It's not a rental, Dad. I bought it. I closed on it yesterday." There was a heavy, dangerous silence on the other end of the line. I could almost hear his face turning that familiar shade of crimson he got when a waiter brought him the wrong wine. "You bought a house," he repeated, his voice dangerously low, "without consulting me." "Yes, without asking my permission. I'm 33 years old, Dad. I don't need your permission." "You are a member of this family," he roared, the phone crackling with the force of it. "We make major decisions as a unit. Do you have any idea how this looks? Megan is about to get engaged. We are trying to project an image of success and unity, and you run off and buy some shack in the middle of nowhere. It's not a shack. It's a 3-bedroom lakefront cottage. And how exactly did you pay for it?" His voice shifted, becoming suspicious. "Did you take out a loan? Did you put my name on anything? If you used my name as a co-signer without asking me, Rebecca, I swear to God I will sue you." That stung. It shouldn't have, but it did. After everything, he still saw me as either incompetent or a thief. "I didn't use your name," I said. "I used my own money." "What money?" "You push paper around in a warehouse. I'm a logistics manager and I save my money. I've been saving for over 10 years. "That's bullshit," he said flatly. "You can't afford a place like that. You're lying. Who gave you the money? Do you have a boyfriend? Did you get yourself into debt?" "Dad, stop," I said. I didn't raise my voice, but I put a core of steel into it. "I bought the house with my savings. It's done. The papers are signed. You are going to sell it," he said. "It wasn't a request. It was a royal decree. You will list it on Monday. We need that capital. Megan's wedding is going to be expensive, and if you're sitting on a pile of cash, you should be contributing to the family, not hiding it in the woods." My hand tightened on the phone. There it was, the raw, unvarnished truth. He wasn't angry that I'd achieved a major life goal. He was furious that he couldn't access my money to spend it on Megan. "I'm not selling it," I said. "Excuse me?" I said, "I am not selling it. This is my house. This is my home." "You are a selfish, ungrateful child," he hissed. "You've always been selfish. Your sister is at the most important moment of her life, and you're deliberately trying to sabotage it. You're trying to make me look bad. What are people going to think when they hear my daughter is living alone in the woods? They'll think there's something wrong with you." "Let them," I said. "Rebecca, you listen to me. I am your father and I know what's best. You are not stable enough to own a home. You're impulsive. Just look at this. Running away on a random Tuesday." "It wasn't a random Tuesday," I said quietly. "What?" "It was my birthday." Another pause. For a foolish second, I thought he might actually apologize. I thought a flicker of shame might penetrate his armor. "So," he said. I closed my eyes. So, I bought myself a present," I said, "since you forgot." "Oh, don't you start with the pity party," he groaned. "I'm a busy man, Rebecca. I'm running a business. I'm planning Megan's event. I can't be expected to keep track of every single date. If you wanted a celebration, you should have said something. But no, you have to be dramatic. You have to buy a house just to punish me. This isn't about punishing you, Dad. That's what you don't get. This has nothing to do with you. I looked out at the water, watching a lone duck glide across the surface. The house is mine, I said, speaking slowly and clearly. The money is mine. The decision was mine. If you don't sell that house, he threatened, his voice low and menacing, don't you dare come asking me for help ever again. I have never had any help from you, Dad, I said. I paid for my own university education. I found my own job. I bought my own car. And now I've bought my own house. You have nothing to threaten me with. He actually sputtered. He was a king with no subjects left to command. He was pulling levers that were no longer connected to anything. You are ungrateful, he said. Don't even think about showing up for Sunday dinner. I don't want to see your face until you've come to your senses. Okay, I said. Goodbye, Dad. I hung up the phone. My hand was trembling. My whole body was shaking with adrenaline. It was the terror and exhilaration of finally saying the words I had held back for 20 years. I sat on that bench for a long time, just watching the boats and the clouds. I felt lighter. He had disinvited me from Sunday dinner. For years, that would have utterly destroyed me. I would have begged for forgiveness. But now, I thought about Sunday dinner. I thought about the tense atmosphere, my father criticizing my clothes, Megan talking about herself for hours while I refilled everyone's drinks, and me cleaning up the kitchen while they all watched television. Then I thought about my lake house. I thought about sitting on my dock with a book and a cup of tea. I thought about the silence. I realized he hadn't punished me. He had liberated me. I picked up my phone, went into my contacts, and found Dad. I changed his ringtone to silent. Then I got in my car and drove back to my new life, my house. There was so much to do. I needed to buy a bed, get the utilities switched to my name, stock the fridge. But first, I had to prepare for the fallout, because I knew Richard Hayes. He wouldn't stop at a phone call. He was a man who had to win, and if he couldn't control me, he would try to ruin me. I pulled into my new driveway, and my phone buzzed. It was a text from my cousin, Olivia. Olivia. Hey, Beck, are you okay? Uncle Richard just called my mom. He's telling everyone you had a mental breakdown and ran away. Says you're unstable. I stared at the screen. The new narrative was already being written. He was painting over my independence with a brush of insanity. I took a deep breath. Let him paint, I thought. I'm the one holding the keys, I texted Olivia back. Me. I'm fine, Liv. Better than fine. I'll send you the address. Come visit soon. I walked up the steps to my porch and unlocked my front door. The war had just begun, but for the first time I was fighting on home turf. The first week in the cottage was the quietest week of my entire life. The silence was a physical thing, like a cool compress on a feverish brow. I bought a mattress and a coffee maker. I bought a single comfortable armchair and placed it by the large window overlooking the lake. I went to work, did my job, and came home. There were no egos to manage, no apologies to make for my own existence. But in the Hayes family, silence is never just silence. It's the deep breath before the inevitable scream. I knew my father wouldn't just let it go. Richard Hayes didn't lose people, he discarded them. And since he hadn't been the one to discard me, I had walked away. He had to rewrite the story to cast himself as the wounded party. It started with a phone call from my Aunt Carol on a Tuesday evening. Carol is my mother's sister, a kind but timid woman who despises conflict. She'd rather agree with a lie than risk an argument. She rarely called me. Hello, Aunt Carol, I said, a paintbrush in my hand. I was painting the living room a warm, creamy white. "Rebecca," she whispered, as if she were a spy. "Oh, thank goodness you answered. Are you all right? Are you safe?" I set the paintbrush down. "I'm fine. Why are you whispering?" "Your father, he said you vanished. He came over last night, Rebecca, and he was nearly in tears. He said you had some kind of episode. A cold spike of dread went through me." "An episode?" "He said you've been acting erratically for months, hoarding money, talking to yourself. He said you ran off to the woods and are refusing to tell anyone where you are because you're paranoid. He thinks you might be having a nervous breakdown." I looked around my clean, organized living room. I had just eaten a healthy meal. I was the sanest I had ever felt in my life. "He's lying, Carol," I said calmly. "He just seemed so worried, honey. He said you spent your life savings on some dilapidated shack that's about to fall down. He said he offered to help you, to get you to a doctor, and you just screamed at him. It was a work of art, really. He had taken the truth. I bought a house and set a boundary and twisted it until I was the villain and he was the martyred saint. He was poisoning the well, ensuring that if I ever spoke out, no one would believe me. I'd just be the crazy daughter. Listen to me," I said. "I'm going to send you a video. Right now. Stay on the line." I switched the call to a video chat. Carol's anxious face appeared on my screen. I flipped the camera. "This is the shack, Carol," I said, and I gave her a virtual tour. I showed her the polished hardwood floors, the modern kitchen appliances, the stunning view of the moonlit lake from the porch. I showed her my work briefcase by the door, packed and ready for the morning. "Does this look like the home of someone who's having a breakdown?" I asked. Carol was silent for a long moment. It's beautiful, Rebecca. It looks so peaceful. It is peaceful. And I bought it with money I saved from working for 10 years. Dad didn't offer to help me. He yelled at me because I wouldn't sell it and give him the money for Megan's party." Carol let out a heavy, weary sigh. I knew she believed me. The evidence was right there on her screen. But to accept the truth meant she had to accept that her powerful brother-in-law was a cruel liar, and Carol didn't have the strength for that. "He's just under a lot of stress," she said weakly. "This wedding is a big deal. Maybe you should just call him and apologize. You know, just to smooth things over." "No," I said. "Rebecca, please, no. I am not apologizing for buying a house. I am not apologizing for being successful. You can tell him I am safe and that the house is lovely, but you will not tell him where I am. If he shows up here, I will call the authorities." Carol gasped. "You wouldn't." "I would." "Good night, Aunt Carol." I hung up. That set the pattern for the next few weeks. A text would come in from a distant relative or an old family friend. They all started the same way, just checking on you or thinking of you. They were reconnaissance missions, sent to see if the rumors were true. Was Rebecca Hayes finally cracking up? I refused to get angry. I didn't write long defensive tirades. I simply responded with facts. To my uncle, who texted asking if I needed a loan for treatment, I sent back a screenshot of my 820 credit score and a photo of my budding vegetable garden. "Doing great, Uncle Bill. The tomatoes are coming in nicely." To a cousin who asked if I felt safe all alone in the woods, I sent a picture of my new security system and the very large, very friendly golden retriever I'd just adopted from the local shelter. Safe as can be. Buster says hi. I refused to engage with the drama. I became a gray rock. I gave them no emotional fuel. If they wanted a dramatic scene, they had to go to Richard. If they came to me, they got calm, boring reality. And slowly, his story started to fray at the edges. My cousin Olivia was the one who told me the tide was turning. She drove up to visit one Saturday, bringing a bottle of wine and a housewarming gift. We sat on the dock, our feet dangling in the cool water. "He's losing his grip," Olivia said, taking a sip of wine. "Uncle Richard. He tells the story to anyone who will listen, but the details keep changing. First you were depressed, then you were manic. Now I hear you've joined a cult. Last week at the golf club, he told Mr. Henderson you stole the money from him to buy this place." I stiffened. He said I stole from him? Yeah. But here's the thing, Beck. Mr. Henderson knows you. He's worked with your company. He knows you're as straight as an arrow. He apparently just looked at Richard like he had 3 heads. Olivia laughed. And Megan is making it worse. She's complaining on social media about party budget cuts. People are starting to connect the dots. They see you living this quiet, stable life, and they see Richard and Megan frantic and screaming about money. It's making them look tacky. "Tacky," I repeated, liking the sound of it. "Yeah, the desperate kind. You winning by just being silent is driving him absolutely insane. He needs a fight, Rebecca. He needs you to scream back so he can point and say, 'See, she's crazy.' But you're just over here, gardening." I looked down at my hands, dirt under the fingernails. They were strong hands. "I'm done fighting, Liv," I said. "I'm just living." But Richard wasn't done. He realized social pressure wasn't working, so he escalated to his favorite weapon, money. He couldn't cut me off since he'd never supported me. He couldn't fire me since I didn't work for him. But he could try to make me pay for the very thing that was causing his downfall, Megan's perfect image. The engagement party was 2 weeks away. It was supposed to be the event of the season. My father had booked the grand ballroom at the city's most luxurious hotel. He'd hired a famous band. He'd ordered thousands of dollars in exotic flowers. It was a production fit for a queen. The only problem was Richard Hayes wasn't a king. He was just a man with a lot of pride and even more credit card debt, and the numbers weren't adding up. I knew he was in trouble when the indirect requests for money started. It began with my mother. She called me at work, sounding breathless. "Rebecca, hi. I don't have much time. Your father's in a meeting." "Hi, Mom. We're doing the final head count for the party. Are you planning on coming?" "I wasn't invited, Mom. Dad specifically disinvited me." "Oh, that was just the heat of the moment," she said, brushing it aside. "Of course you're invited. Your family. Listen, we have a tiny issue with the caterer. There was a mix-up with the deposit, and Dad's funds are tied up in an investment until next month. We just need a little something to bridge the gap." I kept typing on my work computer. How much of a gap? $7,000. I stopped typing. $7,000 for a mix-up? "Mom," I said, "I just bought a house. I have a mortgage and property taxes. I don't have $7,000 to lend you." "Well, it's not exactly a loan," she said, her voice getting high and reedy. "Think of it as your engagement gift to your sister. You haven't gotten her anything yet. And since you're doing so well, everyone says the house is so lovely." "No." "Rebecca, please. Your father will be mortified if we have to downgrade the menu. He promised Megan the lobster." "Then Dad should pay for the lobster," I said. "Or Megan should. Why isn't she contributing?" "Oh, Megan doesn't have that kind of money. She's just starting out in her career." Megan was 31. She'd been just starting out for a decade. "I'm sorry, Mom. The answer is no. I can't give you the money." She hung up on me. 2 days later, Megan texted. "Megan, hey, I know things are weird, but I really need a favor. The band is demanding their final payment by Friday or they walk. Dad's so stressed, I don't want to bother him. Can you cover it? It's $3,000. I'll pay you back." I stared at the text. "I'll pay you back." I knew that was a lie. Money only ever flowed one way in my family, toward Megan. Me. "I can't, Megan. New house, strict budget." "Megan, you are unbelievable. You have a whole house. But you can't help your only sister. You're trying to ruin my party on purpose because you're jealous. Me. I'm not jealous. I'm being financially responsible. Ask Dad. Megan. Dad is tapped out because he spent a fortune making this perfect for me. Unlike you, he actually cares. She admitted it. He was tapped out. The whole grand performance was built on a foundation of debt. My father had always relied on his ability to bully the family into covering his shortfalls. But I was no longer playing my part. The ultimate humiliation came 3 days before the party. I was at my desk when my office phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. Rebecca Hayes speaking. Hi, Ms. Hayes. This is Sarah from Blooms and Bouquets Florists. My stomach clenched. I knew Sarah. I'd used her for corporate events. She was doing the flowers for Megan's party. Hi, Sarah. How are you? I'm well, thanks. This is a bit awkward, she said. I'm calling about the invoice for the Hayes event on Saturday. Okay, I'm not the organizer for that event. I know, but the contact on file is your father's and he isn't answering his phone, and his voicemail is full. Of course it was. He was dodging his creditors. What's the problem, Sarah? The check bounced, Rebecca. I closed my eyes. The shame was immediate and hot, even though it wasn't my fault. He wrote us a check for the final balance, $15,000, and it was returned this morning for insufficient funds. We've already ordered all the flowers from Holland. They're sitting in our cooler, but my boss says we can't load the truck on Saturday unless we have a certified check or a credit card that clears by 5 o'clock today. She paused, and I could hear the hope in her voice. I know you usually handle the logistics for your family events. Is there any way you can help us out? Otherwise, we have to cancel the entire order. This was the moment my father had been counting on. He assumed that when push came to shove, I would be too embarrassed by the public shame to let the family name be dragged through the mud. He assumed I'd swoop in and fix his mess. I pulled up my online banking. I had the money. I could pay it. It would hurt my savings, but I could do it. I could save the party. I could save Megan's flowers. I could save my father from the humiliation of a flowerless ballroom. Then I thought about the birthdays he forgot. I thought about the graduation he barely attended. I thought about him telling our entire family I was mentally unstable. Sarah, I said, my voice clear and steady, I am so sorry this is happening to you. Your company does beautiful work. Thanks, she said, sounding relieved. But I am not involved with this event in any capacity. I am not financially responsible for it. Do not charge any of my cards on file. Do not look to me for payment. Oh, she said, her voice falling. Okay, but what should I do? If I don't get paid by 5 p.m., there are no flowers. Call my sister, Megan, I said, or call the hotel and have them page my father. But Sarah, if they don't pay you, do not deliver a single flower. You do not work for free. Okay, she said quietly. Thanks, Rebecca. She hung up. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. I felt like I had just cut the rope to a massive, heavy anchor. I found out later what transpired. Sarah called Megan. Megan had a complete meltdown. She screamed at my father, who then had to scramble to the bank and take out a high-interest personal loan just to get a cashier's check to the florist before they closed. The party happened, but the magic was gone. I saw the photos on social media. The flowers were there, but it was a scaled-back version. The champagne was domestic sparkling wine, not French, and in every photo, my father looked awful. He looked sweaty and strained. His smile was a grimace. He looked like a man trying to hold up a collapsing building with his bare hands, and people noticed. My cousin Olivia texted me that night. Olivia, you are not missing anything. The vibe here is so weird. Uncle Richard is drinking way too much and snapping at the staff. And Megan is crying in the restroom because the dessert bar ran out of macarons. People are asking where you are. Richard's telling them you're home with the flu. Nobody believes him. Olivia. He looks weak, Beck. For the first time in his life, he looks small. I read her texts while sitting on my porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the fireflies dance over the dark water. For 33 years, my father had used money as a tool of control, to buy affection, to enforce silence, to demand obedience. But he had run out of money. And because I had removed myself from the equation, he had run out of scapegoats. He was finally beginning to understand that without a captive audience, his grand performance was just a lonely man yelling in an empty room. But he wasn't done yet. The humiliation of the party and my refusal to bail him out had curdled his embarrassment into pure rage. He blamed me, and since he couldn't get my money, he decided to attack the one thing I valued even more, my career. I had always maintained a strict firewall between my family and my professional life. My family was chaos and drama. My work was logic and order. I never talked about my father at the office. I never connected with my sister on LinkedIn. I kept my two worlds completely separate. But Richard Hayes didn't respect firewalls. If he couldn't get in through the door, he would burn the whole building down. It happened on a Wednesday morning, 3 days after the party. I was in a quarterly planning session with my team, mapping out shipping routes for the busy holiday season. I felt competent in my element. Then my manager, Laura Vance, appeared in the conference room doorway. Laura is a no-nonsense woman. She doesn't interrupt meetings for anything less than a fire alarm. "Rebecca," she said, her face a mask. "Can I see you in my office, please? Now." A rock dropped in my stomach. The room fell silent. I stood up, smoothing my skirt, trying to keep my composure as I walked to her office. When I entered, I saw David Chen, the head of human resources, sitting in one of the chairs. My first thought was, I'm being fired. The old, familiar fear I'd lived with as a child surged through me. I automatically assumed I had done something wrong. "Sit down, Rebecca," Laura said, closing the door behind me. "Is everything okay?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Laura sat down behind her desk. She looked furious, but not at me. She held up a printed email. "We received an email this morning," Laura said. "It was sent to the main executive mailing list, but I was CC'd, as was the vice president of operations. It's from a Richard Hayes." The air rushed out of my lungs. "My father," I whispered. "He claims to be a concerned parent," David from HR said gently. "Rebecca, I want you to know that while we are obligated to follow up on any claims, we also know you and your work." "What does it say?" I asked, dreading the answer. Laura slid the paper across her desk. I didn't want to touch it. It felt toxic, but I made myself read it. Subject: urgent. Personnel concern. I, Rebecca Hayes. To whom it may concern, I am writing to you as a deeply concerned father. It pains me to do this, but I have a moral obligation to inform you about a serious issue. My daughter, Rebecca Hayes, who I understand handles financial logistics for your company, has recently suffered a severe mental health crisis. She has been exhibiting highly erratic behavior, paranoia, and extreme financial irresponsibility. She has cut off all contact with her family and is making impulsive, dangerous decisions. We believe she is unstable and may be a liability to your company, given her access to sensitive accounts. I strongly urge you to audit her work immediately and consider placing her on a leave of absence until she can receive the professional help her family is trying to provide. Sincerely, Richard Hayes. I read it again, He wasn't just trying to shame me. He was actively trying to get me fired. He was trying to destroy my livelihood. He knew that if I lost my job, I would lose the house. And if I lost the house, I would have no choice but to come crawling back to him, defeated. It was the most violent act anyone had ever committed against me. He didn't lay a hand on me, but he tried to take away my ability to feed myself. I looked up at Laura, my eyes stinging with tears of pure, hot rage. "It's not true," I said. "None of it." "We know," Laura said firmly. I blinked. "You do? Rebecca?" she said, leaning forward. "You have been with this company for 8 years. You are the most meticulous, reliable person in this entire department. We just had our quarterly audit last month. Your books are pristine. We know you're not stealing, and we know you're not crazy." David, the HR manager, spoke up. "This email doesn't read like it's from a concerned father, Rebecca. It reads like harassment. He's using specific corporate language, liability, audit, to try and trigger a formal investigation. This is malicious." I sagged back in my chair. He's angry that I bought a house without his permission, and because I wouldn't give him money for my sister's party. Laura's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's it? That's what this is about?" "Yes." Laura stood up, her face set like stone. "Okay, here's what's happening. David is going to log this as a formal external harassment complaint. We are blocking your father's email address from all company servers. If he calls the main line, reception has been instructed to terminate the call, and security has been notified that he is not permitted on the premises." "You're protecting me?" I asked, the words feeling foreign. "Of course we are," Laura said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "You're one of ours. He's just a bully." I walked out of that office 10 minutes later, not fired, but shielded. For the first time in my life, an authority figure had looked at Richard Hayes and seen him for exactly what he was: a petty, vindictive man. He thought his charm and his title would intimidate them, but in the real world, the world where truth and hard work actually matter, he was powerless. I went back to my desk and sat down, and I realized something with chilling certainty. He had just fired his last and most powerful weapon. He had pushed the nuclear button, and it had failed. After he tried to destroy my career, something inside me turned to ice. It wasn't the fragile kind of ice that shatters. It was the deep, solid ice of a frozen lake. I was done being hurt. I was done being afraid. I was just done. I spent that Saturday morning on what I called life administration. In reality, it was an amputation. I logged into my insurance portal and changed my emergency contact from Richard Hayes to my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, who was thrilled to be asked. I called my bank and set a verbal password on all my accounts, explicitly telling the representative that my father might try to impersonate me or claim power of attorney, and that he was to be given no access. Then, I sat at my kitchen table, a cup of tea steaming beside me, and opened my laptop. I drafted an email. I added the addresses of every aunt, uncle, cousin, and family friend who had been a party to the whispers. Subject: moving forward. Dear family, there have been a lot of rumors circulating about me lately, and I'm writing this to clear the air once and for all. I am not having a mental breakdown. I am not unstable. I am happy, healthy, and thriving in my new home and at my job. However, due to recent events, specifically Richard's attempt to have me fired from my job by making false and malicious allegations, I have made the decision to permanently cease all contact with Richard and Eleanor Hayes. This was not a rash decision. It is a necessary step for my own safety and well-being. His actions have crossed the line from difficult family dynamics into active, targeted harassment. I love you all, and hope to maintain individual relationships with you. But please understand that I will not discuss my parents, and I will not attend any events where they are present. I am building a quiet, safe life for myself, and I will protect it fiercely. I hope you can respect my decision. All my love, Rebecca. I hit send. I braced myself for another explosion, but it never came. Instead, a quiet, slow ripple moved through the family. My cousin Olivia replied first. Good for you, Beck. He went too far. We all see it. Then a message from my Aunt Carol. I am so sorry he did that to you, honey. We love you. We'll plan a separate Christmas get-together. Without me, as the designated scapegoat, the toxic energy in the Hayes household had nowhere to go but inward. Olivia told me the fallout from the party was catastrophic for my father's reputation. The florist had told other vendors about the bounced check. The caterer for the actual wedding now demanded 100% of their fee up front in cash. Richard couldn't afford it. Megan's wedding was postponed indefinitely. She's furious, Olivia told me over the phone. She's blaming him for everything, saying he promised her a fairy tale and delivered a public humiliation. They're at each other's throats constantly. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I truly meant it. I never wanted them to suffer. I just wanted to stop being the one who absorbed all their suffering. Richard tried to reach out a few times. A letter arrived, full of non-apologies. Rebecca, it's time to put this unfortunate business behind us. You've made your point. A family needs to be together. Your mother misses you. I didn't reply. I burned the letter in my outdoor fire pit. His social standing in town also began to crumble. You can't be the big, important man when you can't pay your bills and your own daughter has cut you off. People talk. They realize the grand image he projected was just a hologram. He was slowly becoming the one thing he always feared, irrelevant. Meanwhile, my own world was opening up. I wasn't just not Richard's daughter anymore. I was Rebecca. I joined a local hiking group. I started a book club with a woman I met who loved novels as much as I did. I hosted the first meeting at my house. As 8 women sat in my living room, laughing and drinking wine around the fireplace, I felt a sensation I didn't immediately recognize. It was pride. I had built this. I bought the chairs they were sitting on. I had earned the friendships. None of it was given to me, and none of it had strings attached. It was all mine. It has been 18 months since I bought the lake house. It's autumn, and the trees surrounding the water are a blaze of red and gold. My life is unrecognizable from the one I had at 33. I was promoted at work. When Laura retired, she recommended me for her position. I'm now the director of logistics. I have my own corner office. When I got the news, I didn't wait for a phone call from my father to validate it. I took myself to a fancy dinner. I ordered the best steak and the richest dessert. I celebrated myself. My escape fund has been fully replenished. I even bought a small pontoon boat that I take out on the lake on Sunday mornings. I still speak to my mother now and then, but only on my terms. She calls when she's alone. We talk about the weather, her garden, the neighbors. We have an unspoken pact. My father does not exist in our conversations. She sounds weary. She told me Richard is retired now, which I know is a euphemism for being pushed out of his firm. They sold the big house and moved into a condo. Megan did eventually get married in a small courthouse ceremony. I wasn't invited. I sent a polite card, but no check. I heard she's working as a receptionist. The PR career vanished when the funding did. I don't feel happy about their misfortune. I don't feel any glee at all. I just feel distant. It's like watching a storm from behind a thick window. You can see the lightning and hear the thunder, but you are safe and dry inside. Yesterday, I was in the local grocery store. I turned down the coffee aisle and I saw him. Richard. He was pushing a shopping cart, looking older and smaller than I remembered. His shoulders were slumped. He was wearing a tracksuit, which was a shock. Richard Hayes never wore athletic wear in public. He was staring at the different brands of coffee, a deep frown on his face. For a single second, my heart hammered against my ribs, a reflex of old fear. And then it steadied. He looked up and our eyes met. I just stood there, holding a bag of apples. I was calm. I was wearing a nice coat I'd bought with my own salary. I looked healthy. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. I could see the old anger try to spark in his eyes, but it was just a flicker, and then it died. He looked at me and seemed to realize that he didn't know me at all. He didn't know where I lived, what my job title was, who my friends were. For 33 years, he had worked to make me invisible. And now, standing in the fluorescent light of the grocery store, he was the one who couldn't be seen. "Rebecca," he said, his voice raspy. I looked him directly in the eye. I didn't smile, but I didn't scowl either. "Hello, Richard," I said. I didn't call him Dad. He flinched. He looked like he wanted to say more, to ask for something, to demand something, maybe just to ask why. But I didn't give him the chance. I gave him a single, polite, and final nod, the kind you give a stranger you passed on the street. Then I walked past him and continued with my shopping. I walked out of the store into the crisp autumn air. I got in my car and drove home. When I pulled into my driveway, Buster was waiting on the porch, his tail thumping against the wood. I unlocked my door, walked into my kitchen, and put the apples in a bowl on the counter. The house was quiet. For so long, I thought silence was a punishment. I thought it was the sound of being forgotten. But as I stood there looking out at the still, glassy water of the lake, I finally understood. This silence wasn't empty. It was full. It was full of peace. It was full of safety. It was full of the person I was finally becoming. My father forgot my birthday for 33 years, and that's okay, because I finally remembered myself.